You're listening to Your Magical Midlife. This podcast is for women who are seekers, dreamers, and out-of-the-box thinkers. If you're a Gen X woman who never quite fit in, and probably never will, listen up. I'm Kate Higgins, your host. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and coach, and I'm here to guide you through the expansive, exhilarating, and sometimes exhausting crossroads that we find ourselves in at midlife. Whether you're a seasoned listener or just joining the adventure, think of this podcast as your hot pink convertible cruising down the highway of change. Together we'll navigate the sometimes baffling backroads of midlife and collect all the cool souvenirs along the way. Get in and buckle up. Our map may have flown out the window miles ago, but that doesn't mean we aren't going to have a blast. Let's hit the road and discover the magic just around the bend. Wiley Women is a wellness brand that wants you to live your best midlife. Developed by a naturopath, they offer tinctures, supplements, and drink mixes. Wiley uses plant medicine and clinical studies to demystify and embrace the hormonal powers and hidden complexities of grown women from the inside. Female formulated and female founded. Plus, they offer free shipping and easy returns. I love the Unworried tincture, which has bacopa, holy basil, passion flower, and reishi. It helps calm my body and stops the spinouts. It reduces jitters and lightens my mood. Go to www.wileywomen.com and use code KATEH2O at checkout to get 20% off. That's www.wileywomen.com and use code KATEH2O for 20% off. I'd been up in Delaware a lot, dealing with a lot of administrative stuff for my dad. Things like shoring up his finances, getting his will in order, getting things ready to have his house sold, doing all these administrative things with lawyers and financial advisors and accountants and the state. And it's really made me think a lot about how prepared I am for my own death. And I know that sounds really, really morbid, but the truth is I've lost a handful of friends over the past 10 years. And now that I've accumulated a home and a retirement account and some savings, I realize I probably should have a will. And I don't have one right now. So if I was hit by a bus this afternoon, all of the things that I have accumulated during my lifetime would be in a hot legal mess. Have you written your will? Do you have your power of attorney? Do you have your advance directives? Do you have a plan? Do you have a pre-need for what you want done with your body? Do you know where you want to be buried? Do you know if you want to be cremated? These are the questions we probably need to straighten out in our mid-adult life. You probably should have a plan just in case you are taken out before you're really ready to be. It's not a fun thing to think about. It's actually scary and depressing and a little intimidating and maybe a little overwhelming. But let's start with the basics. I'm sure that I need a will. So what that means is I probably need to find an estate attorney or at least explore LegalZoom and see if I can download one for some nominal fee because I don't want to spend thousands of dollars to retain an attorney for a relatively simple will. I don't have children and I'm not married, but I want to make sure that the house goes to my partner The money I have goes to my partner and some of my friends. I probably should have it all written out and at least get it notarized, seal it, and put it in a box just in case. As far as what I want done with my body, I am sure that I want not to be embalmed. I am sure that I don't want to be buried. My mother was cremated and her ashes were put in the Long Island Sound. And that sounds nice. I think that's what my dad wants as well. In fact, I know that's what my dad wants as well. We did a pre-need for him the last time I went up to Delaware. So my dad has all his ducks in a row. We have now sold his house. By the time this episode airs, his house will belong to new people. And the money, the proceeds from his house have gone into a fund to continue the payments for his assisted living for as long as he lives and after his long-term insurance runs out. I've mentioned before that I don't have long-term insurance and I don't ever, ever, ever want to end up in an assisted living, even one as nice as the one my dad is in. I am just not interested in that at all. My plan is to buy property, hopefully collectively with friends of mine or people I will meet along the way, and build tiny homes so that we can all live together and support each other and look out for each other, because that's really how I want to grow old. I don't want to grow old the way my dad is growing old. I want to have a sense of community. I want to have a sense of being centered. I want to know that I can rely on people and that other people can rely on me. As far as a will, I know that needs to be taken care of. I don't have a lot, but I do own a home. And I do have, at this point, unless the economy crashes, which, it's at the threat of that every single moment of the day, I have a decent amount of money in my retirement account. And I would definitely like it to go to the people that I love. And I have some physical things, not much that's worth a ton, but I know my mother's engagement and wedding rings will go to my nephew. I have some stuff that I would like doled out to very specific people. I have my tarot cards that I've been reading on for 30 years that I would like certain things done with when I die. And really that's it. I have clothes. I guess my clothes can go back to the Goodwill where I bought them, because probably 90% of my clothing I bought at thrift stores or consignment shops or various estate sales along the way. I don't have a ton of valuable things, but I don't want all my stuff to just end up in a landfill. I want to be thoughtful and I want to be mindful. I know right now, as I sit here, that if I were to have a horrible accident where I became brain dead, I would not want to be put on life support. I know right now, and I can say this, maybe it's a little silly or frivolous or not thoughtful to say that if I was diagnosed with a terminal illness, I probably wouldn't want to go to any length to survive. I'd want to have as much quality time as I possibly could. And then, take some fentanyl overdose and be put peacefully to sleep. I know that sounds terrible. And maybe that sounds like I don't value my life. I desperately and deeply do value my life. My life is beautiful and it's of my own creation. And I've worked very, very hard to have it a certain way. But I don't want to leave behind a giant medical bill. I definitely do not want that. My mom died during the pandemic and we never received a single hospital bill because I suspect the hospital knew they were at fault for her death. And so we never got anything. It was kind of a shock. My mom was in the hospital for over a month. And you would think that even with the decent health insurance that she had and having Medicare, we would have gotten a bill for something. And I don't want to get political on this podcast ever, but I know that there were a lot of COVID grants out there. And if you died with COVID, you were written off as a COVID death, even if you didn't die of COVID. So I don't know if they wrote my mother off as a COVID death or because she died of a hospital-based infection, they wrote her off because of that. I handled all of the bills after my mom died for my dad. And I know that we didn't pay a penny for the 30 plus days my mother was on an ICU. And I know from having worked in a hospital and having worked for a managed care plan, 2 of them, in fact, I know that ain't right. I know we should have received something. I know Medicare only covers 80% of inpatient hospital stays. So we would have been looking at a multi-$1,000 bill, probably a $30,000 bill that we never got. So back to that. I don't want any part of that. I don't want any part of heroic efforts to keep me alive if I am really sick, if I am really dying. I don't want any part of that. And I know that, and I'm really clear. So I probably need to button this all up and make this official and legal and airtight. And if you are over the age of 45, I'm now 10 years almost behind the 8 ball on this. Your affairs should be in order, especially if you have a partner, especially if you have a partner who you are not married to, especially if you have children, which I don't, but you know that. Your affairs should be tight and they should be in order, and you should not leave behind a mess if you can avoid it. A friend of mine died unexpectedly this year. And I don't know if her affairs were in order, and I don't know if her ducks were in a row. But I've been thinking about it for months, that I need to get this straightened up and settled. And I know it's not the most fun topic. I know it's not the most magical topic. I know it's not the most inspiring topic. But it's something that we all need to think about and we all need to take care of. So take a moment this week and at least write it on a piece of paper. At least think about, are your affairs in order? And if they are not, take some simple steps to get them in order today. At the very least, Google LegalZoom and see what forms are available to you in your state that would be valid upon your death to make sure that everything is taken care of the way you want it to be. You are in midlife. I'm sure you have things that you've accumulated. I'm sure you have people that you would like to possess your things if you are to be taken out of this realm and moved to the next one. I'm sure you have things that you would want to go to specific people, including your finances. So take care of it and scratch it off your list. Let's pull
At the very
a card.
least, Google LegalZoom and
So
see
the
what
card for
forms
this
are
week and
available
for
to
this
you in your
episode,
state that would be valid upon
it would
your
be hilarious
death
if we pulled
to
death,
make
but
sure that everything is taken
I
care
don't
of the way
think
you
I'm
want
that
it to be.
magical, right?
You are in midlife. I'm
Our
sure you
card for
have
this
things that
episode is...
you've accumulated. I'm sure you have
I pulled it
people
and I
that
lost
you would
it,
like
so...
to possess
What
your
is our
things.
card?
If
The
you are
King
to
of
be
Wands. The King of Wands
taken out of this realm and moved to the next one,
having that
I'm sure you have
Midas
things
touch.
that you would
It's
want to go to
about
specific people,
being a leader
including your
and being
finances. So take
regal
care of it
and royal
and scratch
and
it off your
sure and
list,
steadfast.
and I'll see you
It's about
next week.
the wealth that you've accumulated, the ideas you've accumulated. It's about your legacy. It's about having a big legacy. So if you're lucky enough to have a big legacy, please have your affairs in order.
Thanks again for listening to Your Magical Midlife. I'm Kate Higgins, your host. You can follow me on Instagram at Your Magical Midlife. You can check out my offerings on my website, www.yourmagicalmidlife.com. I offer one-to-one coaching, group coaching, retreats, a blog, and this podcast. Please remember to like, rate, and review to keep me in those algorithms. Have a great week. See you soon.